To the victor go the spoils, and LSU's got plenty of them coming their way after their win against Clemson. Locked on LSU. Here we go.
You are Locked On LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked On LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. We are free, available wherever you get great podcasts, of course, on YouTube as well. So please subscribe. As always, one of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving your comments below. So thank you sincerely for that. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner, so visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets tomorrow. Well, LSU was a 17-10 winner over Clemson on Saturday night at Clemson. And as you might imagine, much of the nation took notice of LSU's win. And naturally, they're getting tons of praise, awards, and rewards after such a win. So we're going to delve into all of that today. In case if you're not familiar with with Monday being the Labor Day holiday, the usual Brian Kelly Monday press conference did not happen. That will happen on Tuesday of this week. So Brian Kelly will meet with reporters on Tuesday. We'll have a full recap of what he had to say on our next show here on Locked On LSU. So just if you're an everydayer, thank you so much and shout out. If you're just finding us for the first time, welcome. We're thrilled to have you here as well. So make us your first listen every single day so you can follow along all throughout what could be a magical season for the LSU Tigers. The LSU Tigers did, of course, come into the season ranked number 9. So a preseason top 10 team, which is quite a bit of respect for a team that lost 4 games a year ago and had a major overhaul, but still a team that the media picked to finish 4th in the preseason SEC poll out at SEC Football Media Days. And one of the reasons that I don't love preseason polls, quite honestly, is this. Texas was preseason number 1. Didn't look a lick like it when they played at Ohio State. LSU was number 9. They were picked 4th in the SEC behind Texas, Georgia, and Alabama. Well, look at how everything transpired in week 1. And so the national chorus is starting. For example, here was Heather Dinich on Monday about LSU.
When it comes out this week, should Ohio State be number 1?
No. LSU had the best win of week 1. They went on the road into Death Valley, and they beat a team capable of competing for the national title as well. I think Ohio State is an extremely good team. But when I do this every week, I look at it through the eyes of a selection committee member, and no one had a better win than LSU.
No one had a better win than LSU. LSU should be the number 1 team in the country. By the way, the polls were not released on Monday because TCU and North Carolina played Monday. So by mandate, they have to wait until the entire weekend is finished before they'll release the polls. So waiting for North Carolina and TCU to finish on Monday night. The polls will be released on Tuesday. How about Kirk Herbstreit? Who called the game?
First for LSU, the defense was an issue last year for Blake Baker. I say he had one hand tied behind his back. They made some adjustments, went to the portal, got some guys. You're right. This is a different team. Defense has improved. A big win with a big stop when they needed it late in the game, something they struggled with a year ago. Offensive line, 4 new starters in this environment. To me, that's a check mark. They played incredibly well, and they made the adjustments with Joe Sloan as an offense. Like Garrett just said, it wasn't perfect, but it was what they needed to do to get out of here with a win. This is a huge win for them. They're going to be a fun team to watch this year.
Defense, offensive line, Garrett Nussmeier, check. The praise, I'm getting to a point here as well. Dan Orlovsky talking about Garrett Nussmeier.
Garrett Nussmeier is the best quarterback in America. I think the 2 things that Garrett does better than anybody is, 1, handles the pressure, the pocket, and then the ball comes out of his hands before guys are open on a consistent basis. That should all be like, going into this game, can Garrett Nussmeier handle this Clemson front? You saw him get to 2nd, 3rd, 4th progression quickly. The way that he moved away from some of those, whether guys were beat one-on-one pressures or some of the blitzes that Clemson threw at him, the ball comes out before guys are getting into their breaks. That's the number 1 way that quarterbacks can beat pressure. Athletically, I thought that he moved really well as well. That was a stark difference to Cade Klubnik. LSU and Nussmeier were wildly impressive on the road.
There you have Dan Orlovsky saying Garrett Nussmeier, best quarterback in college football. How about one more? Josh Pate of the Josh Pate College Football Show, CBS and ESPN.
LSU did it. 17-10 last night. They beat Clemson. Very much a welcome back LSU moment. I had to see the results of internal decisions with LSU. I doubted LSU. I just throw it out there. I doubted them. It does appear that I could have been much too low on LSU because this was a welcome back LSU moment. Defense, welcome back. Great personnel decisions and acquisitions, welcome back. They were down 10-3 at the half. They've sucked in opening weekend games, and they won the second half 14-0 on the road against a really good team and a really good coaching staff. Welcome back, LSU.
So now, for Brian Kelly, it's a completely different approach this week. And I wanted to play all those in succession because it is always nice to hear the praise. But the praise is what Nick Saban would call rat poison. The type of thing that you start to listen to that, hear that, see that, believe that, internalize that, and then maybe you let your guard down. You don't work as hard because you believe you're entitled to certain things. So all that to say, it's just a different challenge now for Brian Kelly and his staff this week. The good news, and I want to go back to one of my things I said before the season. One of the things I loved about this LSU schedule, and yes, there are landmines all over it. If you want to look at college football strength of schedule rankings, LSU has one of the toughest schedules in America. If you want to look at college football strength of schedule rankings, if I'm just looking at strength of schedule, sorry, I was trying to look it up quickly. My apologies. I don't have it in front of me. LSU had one of the top 15, top 10 toughest strengths of schedule in America. And yes, it's difficult and there's landmines all over it. Like playing at Alabama is hard. Playing at Oklahoma is hard. Playing at Clemson is hard. Playing at Ole Miss should be hard. Florida could be improved. South Carolina is improved. Texas A&M could be a really good team. I mean, there's good teams all over the schedule that could beat you. The thing that I liked from jump about this LSU football schedule from the beginning is how it played out. So as we're talking about not taking the rat poison, well, you get a breather this week with Louisiana Tech coming in. If you went straight from Clemson to another really tough game, you could have a letdown effect. Then after this week against Louisiana Tech, then Florida comes in, which would be a massive week. If you get that one, by the way, that's at 6:30 p.m. primetime on ABC. If you get that one, then guess what? You get Southeastern Louisiana. You get to play an FCS opponent before you go to Ole Miss. After Ole Miss, guess what? You get an open date before you play South Carolina. You see, the way the schedule shapes out, it kind of, you don't at any point have that just heinous back-to-back or 3 consecutive week stretch on the schedule, which is one of the reasons I really like the way all this plays out. And so Brian Kelly and his staff, I would assume a bit of a letdown for the team this week. But at the same time, when you have a very experienced, talented, veteran team with great leadership, which LSU has, they should be able to handle these bouquets. Well, the bouquets continued coming on Monday for 2 LSU offensive players that I want to share with you when we come back. It is Locked on LSU, your team every day. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. The Part Finder tool, by the way, and 3D schematics, they can save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. And their Trademaster perks, like priority shipping and dedicated support, make the whole process smoother. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Today's show is also brought to you by Rougiette Ready. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rougiette Ready. Rougiette Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rougiette's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average, in 15 minutes. And effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. If traditional options haven't worked, Rougiette might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch. So head to Rougiette.com/LockedOnCollege and use the code LockedOnCollege to get 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnCollege and use promo code LockedOnCollege for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit Rougiette website for full safety information. And we're also brought to you today by our friends at Our Lady of the Lake, championship health partner of LSU Athletics. Trust isn't given, it's earned. And just like LSU athletes earn their success, Our Lady of the Lake health providers earn trust every day. As LSU's championship health partner, Our Lady of the Lake, part of the Franciscan Missionaries of Our Lady Health System, takes care of the Tigers on the field, on campus, and across Louisiana. Whether it's sports medicine, pediatrics, heart care, or helping you recover from everyday injuries, they bring championship-level commitment to every patient. You can trust the team that cares for the team you love, Our Lady of the Lake and LSU. Together, we roar. Learn more at OLOLRMC.com/LSU. That's OLOLRMC.com/LSU. I want to get back into some of these bouquets that continued for LSU this week, but we are asking for your help. We have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. So this is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't. You can answer questions about our advertising. So please go to lockedonpodcasts.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcasts.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. And thank you for helping us out. The SEC awards were announced. The weekly awards were announced on Monday. And 2 LSU Tigers were honored. Garrett Nussmeier and center Braelin Moore collected SEC Player of the Week honors for what they were able to accomplish in LSU's win over Clemson. Nussmeier was named SEC Offensive Player of the Week, and Braelin Moore was named SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week. I want to start with Nussmeier. And the reason that this one is interesting is because Nussmeier didn't have his typical day statistically. Against Clemson, Nuss was 28 of 38 for 232, a touchdown, and no interceptions. He ran also for 3 first downs in the game, 2 on a quarterback sneak, 1 on a 10-yard run across right end. He did complete his final 11 passes of the game, so he really kind of got going in the second half. And he was 9 for 9, by the way, in the fourth quarter. 9 for 9 in the fourth quarter, something that probably has gone overlooked by many, but wasn't by the league as they awarded Nussmeier the SEC Player of the Week. And I want to point this out because when you look statistically, again, Nussmeier was just 28 of 38 for 232 and a touchdown, 232 and a score. If you look at Garrett Nussmeier's 13 starts a year ago, the 232 that he threw for against Clemson would have been his lowest passing total a season ago. He threw for 233 against Arkansas, more on that in a second. He threw for 239 in a loss against Alabama, and he threw for 277 in a win against Oklahoma. So those were the ones that were comparable. He also threw for 285 on the road at South Carolina, another win. But the point being, LSU's most complete win a season ago was the win at Arkansas. 34-10. The defense was great. Nuss completed 67% of his passes, did not throw a touchdown, did not throw an interception, threw 23 of 34 for 233, completing 67% of his passes. It's interesting that that was LSU's most dominant win, and on the road, a year ago, and the numbers are really comparable from Clemson. 28 of 38 for 230, a touchdown, no picks, completed 73% of his passes with a rating of 133.2. Again, when LSU is at their best, it's when Garrett Nussmeier doesn't have to throw for 300 yards. By contrast, look at Nussmeier's biggest passing days last year. Now, he threw for 409 against South Alabama, but his other 400-yard passing game, he threw for 405 in the loss to Texas A&M, where LSU lost 38 to 23. He also threw 3 interceptions in that game where they dug a deep hole, had to throw to get out of it. He was 25 of 50, so completed only 50% of his passes. All that to say, it's fun to watch your quarterback throw for 400 yards. When Joe Burrow's doing it, you're scoring 50 points and you're winning 50-10. It's not quite as fun in a loss when you're doing it out of necessity. So for LSU, you're kind of seeing the blueprint. Now, I'd also point out that Nussmeier got robbed on the Berrien Brown play. If the Berrien Brown play stands, that's another 31 yards and a touchdown. So Nuss's numbers are more like 265, 270, and 2 scores, and that looks a lot better on the stat sheet. But it's the ways Garrett Nussmeier affected the game in leading LSU to a comeback win on the road. And the only reason they were able to do it, though, obviously, was 2 reasons. Number 1, they ran the football and controlled the clock. And number 2, they played outstanding defense. Well, one of the reasons they were able to run the ball and control the clock and keep Nussmeier upright was Braelin Moore. And I want to point out with Braelin Moore specifically, Braelin Moore, and we have talked about Moore since literally the first day of fall camp. It was interesting that when I look back at my notes from spring practice, Braelin Moore and DJ Chester and Cohen Eccles were all rotating at center. And it struck me as odd because LSU basically went in the portal and paid Braelin Moore to come here to be your starting center because that was the weak link on your offensive line a year ago. Chester is a very good offensive lineman, but he was out of position playing center last year. You brought in Braelin Moore to be your plug-and-play starter. And when you look at spring, there was a lot of rotation. Well, the very first day of fall camp, Braelin Moore took the reps with ones at the center spot. And after that practice, after the first practice of fall camp, Brian Kelly went to the podium, met with reporters, and announced Braelin Moore was the starter. And he has not moved since that moment. And you saw on Saturday why he is so critically important. He makes the calls. There was not a single, even close to being an errant snap on Saturday. He gathers all of the protections on the interior. And your 3 best pass blocking grades, all pass blocking grades over 80 from Pro Football Focus, were your 3 interior players, Moore, Josh Thompson, and Paul Mabenga at left guard. One more illustration, because we did do our Pro Football Focus show in our previous episode. If you look at center a year ago, DJ Chester, Chester's highest grade on the season, his highest grade on the season was the Baylor game when he graded out at a 67.4. Again, that was DJ Chester's highest grade a season ago when he, against Baylor, when he graded out at a 67.4. It's Baylor in the bowl game. In the season opener on the road at Clemson, Braelin Moore graded out at a 73.9, so basically a 74 with an 85.8 pass blocking grade. Y'all, it is so abundantly clear why LSU went and got Braelin Moore. He affects, the center affects everything within your offensive line. And Braelin Moore showed that in his first outing as LSU starting center and why it was so important to go get him. This isn't an opportunity just to pick on DJ Chester, because I think DJ Chester is going to be a really good lineman for LSU and play a lot of football. He started 13 games for you. He was just out of position. By the way, I mentioned that DJ Chester's highest graded game a year ago was Baylor at 67.4. I know I'm throwing a lot of numbers out at you, but follow me here. His season grade, if you total up the entire season, was a 49.5. So a guy that graded out at 49.5 last year with a high watermark of 67, replaced by a guy that in his first game on the road at top 5 Clemson graded at a 73.9 with an 85.8 pass blocking grade. Do you think you upgraded at the most important position on the defensive line? I'd say yes. One more note on Garrett Nussmeier, and I would recommend that you go check this out. And I would never suggest you go pay for a subscription or behind a paywall or anything like that. But Todd McShay is a guy that many people know was a draft analyst for a lot of years at ESPN. He's now with The Ringer. And Garrett Nussmeier, Todd McShay has a piece up right now where it is titled Garrett Nussmeier's Master Class plus 10 other Week 1 winners. And he writes in part, I'm going to read just a very brief, and I don't like to aggregate content, but I do think this was notable, especially how we started the show with some of the praise. Todd McShay writes, quote, "We're witnessing something special in Garrett Nussmeier. The stats were great in LSU's 17-10 win over Clemson, but the coach's tape revealed a masterclass in college quarterbacking and showed me just how advanced his game is compared to some of the other quarterback play I watched over the weekend. I came away from the performance bullish on his future as a high-level NFL starter," and he details why in the tape breakdown below. So if you want to check that out at The Ringer, you can. But again, more praise for Garrett Nussmeier on a day where he had what would have been his lowest passing total a year ago. But it's not just the stats. It's how he played the game, how he affected the game. It's a giant reason why LSU left Clemson 1-0 for the first time since 2019. We'll grab our final break and wrap up with some updated statistics that you might find interesting here. It's Locked on LSU, your team every day. I mentioned some of those stats. Well, they're over there at FanDuel. But the NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. For example, I love to live bet, especially if I have a bet, might want to middle. I love putting together same-game parlays, love jumping in as the live action unfolds. Sometimes maybe watch a drive or two to see if you get a better number on a side that you favor. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to your Sunday. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. And we're also brought to you by Game Time. College football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up Game Time, and in just a couple of taps, I saw amazing deals. Talking about your favorite college football games for as low as $25. I love the zone deals too. You can pick a section, and then Game Time will pick the seats, and you will save big. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. So we just did the FanDuel read, and it's interesting because our friends over at FanDuel have updated a lot of the betting odds for the season. And I'm going to share these with you, then I'll tell you why I think it's significant in just a quick second. So FanDuel has altered their odds for LSU to make the college football playoff. LSU is now minus 192 to make the playoff. So to explain what that means, you'd have to bet $192 to win $100 on LSU just to make the college football playoff, meaning now they are at minus 192 is pretty significant. So LSU is a pretty significant favorite to be in the 12-team college football playoff. And why not? It was one of our big takeaways immediately after that game ended. LSU, for all intents and purposes, bought itself its cushion that it needed. Again, the Clemson game wasn't a must-win for LSU. You could still go 6-2 in the league, maybe make it to Atlanta, win the conference, or 7-1, and certainly get to Atlanta, win the conference, and you get an auto bid. It would have been more treacherous because if you went 6-2, you'd been 9-3 overall. And is there a spot for a 9-3 team? There wasn't a year ago. You had 3 SEC teams, Bama, South Carolina, Ole Miss, that all finished 9-3. None of them got in. I've told you, the committee are cowards. They'll take the path of least resistance. So it would have been harder But now with that win, you put yourself in a situation where 10-2 with the Clemson win, you're a lock, even if you don't win the league. So I think it's almost a certainty that LSU will go at least 6-2 in the conference, finish at least 10-2, hopefully better. I mean, there's landmines all over, but the point is you bought yourself that cushion. That's why LSU is now a pretty heavy favorite to at least make the college football playoff. As far as winning the SEC, Georgia is still the favorite, followed by Texas, but then LSU at plus 550. Oddly, Alabama is still next. The odds makers are not totally giving up on Alabama, which I have and did long ago. As far as winning the national championship, Georgia, Ohio State, Penn State, Texas, LSU with the 5th best odds to win the national championship. And over at FanDuel, Garrett Nussmeier at plus 800 is now the favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. Lenora Sellers, 1 spot behind him at plus 1,000. And those two will play in just about a month from right now in Tiger Stadium. So as they say, to the victor go the spoils. And after such an overwhelming, impressive, fun win for LSU, where they went on the road and physically dominated both lines of scrimmage against a really good Clemson team, why wouldn't you be a believer? They've got all the ingredients. Veteran quarterback, great on both lines of scrimmage, veterans all over the field, an elite defense. LSU should be in the college football playoff this year. So as we put a button here on this show, I kind of want to shape up how the rest of the week is going to look like here on Locked On LSU because of this little amendment with Brian Kelly meeting with reporters on Tuesday. We will have the Brian Kelly reaction to his Monday presser where he'll put a button on Clemson and start to look ahead to Louisiana Tech. So that'll be on our next episode. We'll let you hear what Brian Kelly had to say. And then we'll fully flip and turn to Louisiana Tech preparation and preview. Brian Kelly will meet with reporters again on Thursday. We'll get player interviews as well this week, so we'll let you hear. We never know which players we're going to have access to until media shows up there on Tuesday. So Brian Kelly and players on Tuesday, which will let you hear a lot of the significance there. And then by Thursday, we'll be full on into prep for Louisiana Tech, letting you know everything you need to know about the Bulldogs. And then obviously Friday will be the preview and prediction episode. And we'll always get you a post game as soon as that game goes final. So it is Locked On LSU, your team every day. Should be a fantastic football season. What a fun way for LSU to start the season. By the way, we've got another big moment here on Locked On. College football fans, Locked On and Fire TV have presented the College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts. A college football preview only Locked On can do, so catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season only on Fire TV, and I was thrilled to be able to be a small participant in that a week ago. Hey, if you're on podcast, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app, YouTube. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and please let a friend know that if they love the Tigers, we got you here every single day for Locked On LSU. Your team every day.